I'm Pat Miller, and on the next episode of the Professional Photographer Podcast, we'll talk with Mitzi Starkweather and her insight that connecting with your customers begins with connecting with yourself.
As I've evolved through different styles of photography, through different genres, and grown my business over the years, the more I've moved toward connection, which has actually been connection to myself, the more I can just better and more authentically connect with my clients. And that is what leads to a successful business. I started with weddings, I started with babies, seniors, kind of all the stuff. And boudoir and glamour was really what I started to gravitate to about 10 years ago. I loved it for a while. I did. I loved the idea of showing anyone that they could feel beautiful, like the woman on the front of a magazine. I loved the transformations, and I loved helping women, as they would often tell me, see themselves for the first time. But then when I went through breast cancer in 2022, my whole life changed. So I did a really scary thing, and I decided to strip it all down and do the opposite from what I had been doing. And I called that my As I Am Raw Portraits. I started to do it, and it took off. And then photographers reach out to me, hey, Mitzi, I want to try something like this. What's your framework? How do you make this profitable, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's when I really just started to teach it and to continue to photograph people and meet them where they were and celebrate them as they are. And then it inspired me to do that for myself. So that came for self-portraits, et cetera. Because really what I learned, Pat, through all of that is that when we can show up in front of a camera exactly as we are, we can show up in our life that way. And the ramifications of that are astounding and limitless, even just speaking from my own experience. And I ended up making a list of 80 people, and I wrote an email to them. And it was like an invitation from my heart, almost like an invitation to a really special party I was having or something. And I wrote this out and I said, here's the deal. You pay your session fee for this, and then it's going to include 2 photos. So even if you don't want to buy more, that's fine. I just want to do this project. It's coming up from my heart. And I didn't even expect it would make any money, which tells you where my belief system was at that point. I was like, let's just break even with this, right? For so much of my life, I spent so much energy trying to be who I thought other people wanted me to be. Wear the clothing, I almost said do the words, talk in the way that people expected, show up at certain times, do this, do that. And I never asked myself, well, how do you want to show up? Who do you want to be? How do you want to present yourself?